Hello! Welcome to The Healing Artist. I'm your host, Frida. And friends, today I have such a treat for you. We are joined with Laura Mazzotta, and she is a holistic therapist for over 20 years and an Akashic Records mentor. She is a fervent advocate for your soul, advocating your highest confidence, freedom, and leadership in your life and relationships. In her care, you return to and embody the purity of who you are. Welcome to The Healing Artist, Laura. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
So we ended up connecting through threads, and I have just become such a fan. Laura has a podcast called the Akashic Music Podcast. I had to go back. I started at the beginning, and this became my favorite thing. So I am very familiar with your voice in my ears as I go through my day, making my paintings, doing my gardening work. And I'm like, yes, this is a lot of hot truth and a lot of good wisdom coming through here. So I am very grateful that you came to share your story with my listeners today.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that my voice has not, I'm surprised you're not annoyed with me yet. You're not annoyed with me yet?
Zero. I'm actually from Philadelphia, and I'm like, I love that East Coast accent. Yeah.
Yes.
Laura, tell us a little bit about your healing journey.
Sure. So like Frida said, I have been a therapist in New York for over 20 years. And so I've always been drawn to helping people heal. And this obviously came from a history in my own family that just made me really desire to support people with depression, anxiety, relationship conflict, family dysfunction, things like that. And so I followed this route after I had already been signed up to be a Presbyterian minister. So I was going to be a
Yes.
Presbyterian minister. And then my freaking husband had to fall in love with me and like tell me that wanted to be with me. And I was like, well, I guess my plans are changing because he's so annoying. So no, so it was great because he had a certain schedule that he was going to be following after college. And I had the schedule I was following for working at the church and going to the seminary. And we realized like we would never be able to see each other because I was going to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and he was going to be here in New York. And it just wasn't going to work out. And it was too important to us at the time. And between that and a conversation that I had with an alumni from my college, because I was working in the alumni office that summer, and he was like, try anything on for size. Like, if there's anything you've considered, try it before you commit to a path. Like, don't go there yet. And I'm so glad he said that because I went to New York City and played in advertising for a few years, and it was so much fun. But eventually came back around to being a therapist. And so I did this for, long time, couple decades I've been doing it. And then about 8 years ago, I got sepsis and I almost died. And it was 2 years prior to that both of my parents had cancer at the same time. One of them passed away. And so I had already had these invitations to get closer and closer to the universe. And of course, I've always been spiritual, but it was more in this organized religion sense, right? I hadn't really found my way yet in terms of what spirituality really was for me specifically. And so after I got sepsis, it was obviously a huge smack over the head. And I was really detaching from my identity as a therapist, which had really become my identity, which I realized
Yeah.
later. It had really become my identity, probably too much so. And I was laying around for years and couldn't really walk much and didn't have a ton of cognitive functioning going on there. It was kind of in and out. And so I was like, well, I might as well meditate. I don't have anything else to do. It's like, I guess this is the time. Because prior to that, people have been like, oh, you got to meditate. And I'm like, no, it's not for me. I suck at it. I hate it. It's not my thing. And it's really because I needed it, right? I was in such resistance of it because I
Sure.
needed it. And so I started meditating. And then I realized on the days I didn't meditate, I wouldn't feel as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. Okay, there's something to this. And then my doctor told me about a year and a half after sepsis that I was going to continue to go downhill and I should look into applying for disability. And for the first time in my people pleasing type A life, I was like, absolutely not. I
Mm.
don't agree with you at all. I don't see that for my future at all.
Mhm.
And I hope you have a really beautiful day. And so then I started looking. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Just curious. So, like, but that was that invitation that you took. Because I feel like a lot of people get a diagnosis and they go into depression and they trust that that's it. So it's interesting because you were like, no, I'm using this as a catalyst for change. I'm going to heal from within. It's just interesting. Like,
It is interesting because it's like, where does that come from?
yeah,
Is
it
that
just,
just because I was meant to follow this path? I mean, that's what
yeah,
I feel,
yeah,
right? Because don't get me wrong, I had a lot of funky moments over that period of time, like a
yeah,
lot of funky moments. There were multiple ambulance rides and multiple times when I potentially could have not made it.
yeah,
And multiple times that I sat there with God and said, what's going to happen to my kids if I'm not here?
yeah,
Like big conversations. And so just wild that that was the moment that for me it clicked and I'm like, nah, nope, not for me. And so I started looking into, I went to a naturopath, I went to acupuncture. Um, I became a Reiki master teacher. Absolutely loved Reiki. It was the deepest level of divine love that I'd ever received in my life and felt in my body. I always say Reiki is the gateway drug to the spiritual world.
okay.
Because
Love that.
you feel it and you're like, oh God, this feels so good. Like it's delicious and I just want more. Like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I didn't realize I could feel this level of love. And so then I was like hooked and I looked into other things. And one of the things that helped me a lot early on in my journey was the emotion code.
Yeah, me too. I love the emotion code.
Yeah, it's great. It cured a lot of my symptoms. And then I worked with theta healing a lot as well. That helped me with a lot of my symptoms too. And then I remember my friend inviting me to open the Akashic Records. And I was like, what is that? I'm like, there's so many freaking modalities out here. Everybody slaps a name on it.
Yeah.
None of it really means anything at the end of the day because it's all universal energy. So I'm like, is this just another thing that I'm gonna do? And so I kicked the can down the road for a while because I was like, I'm sick of this. No, I'm not gonna be one of those people who just chases all the shiny spiritual objects. Like I'm gonna deepen what I already know.
Mhm.
But it kept calling to me, man. And finally, one day I was just like, fine, right? Like, fine, I'm gonna connect to the Akashic Records. So I connected to the Akashic Records and I was like, oh, right, because I didn't really understand it yet at all.
Mhm.
But I would enter that space and I would have zero physical symptoms. Because
That's
originally,
fascinating.
right, it was wild to me. And this was really at a time when I was entering the records for physical healing as my primary intention, right?
Hmm.
And then I would close the records and I'd be super energized. And my
Hmm.
husband, who definitely doesn't understand this kind of stuff, is he's coming around, was like, I have no idea what you're doing, but keep doing it because you're getting so much better. Like physically, I was so much better. My anxiety went down, my confidence went up,
Hmm.
my cognitive clarity came back. I was like, okay, I don't understand this yet, but I know that the results speak for themselves, so I'm just going to keep doing it. So I joined a membership so that I was held accountable for
Hmm.
continually going into and like practicing in this space. And then I joined a certification program. And it really wasn't until I did my internship in that program and started doing readings for other people that I realized, oh, this is how the Akash works through me.
Hmm.
Like I didn't really get it until I was kind of channeling because when I first started with the Akashic Records, I did a lot of ancestral healing
Yes.
because it seemed to me, it was very clear to me that there was a lot within my lineage that this illness was here to clear.
Hmm.
And I remember sitting down with in a past life regression one time and it came through that I had had lymphoma in a previous life. And the message there was really that I needed to come into acceptance that let's say you're chronically ill for the rest of your life. Maybe that's what you're meant for. If it is, it's a huge upgrade from your lineage. Everybody's died early of like heart disease or cancer or all this. And they're like, if that is progress, can you accept that?
Right.
Instead of getting into this forceful place of, I'm going to heal myself. I can do this, right? I was like almost a little bit too vigorous with it, where it
I
was
know
like,
that.
right? Yeah. And it was just like, oh, I could do this myself. And
Yeah.
it was like soften into it, Laura. Like you're too forceful with it. Like I like your conviction. At the same time, like stop trying to control everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like your respect your soul. Your soul chose this path for a reason.
Hmm.
And if it chose chronic illness, it chose chronic illness. Can you accept that it chose that right now? And it was in that acceptance that I wasn't going to fight for my survival
Mm.
that I started getting much better.
Isn't that so interesting? Just the allowing softened and opened up space for physical healing.
Absolutely. And being able to say to God, like, I literally said these words, whatever your assignment is for me, I am here for. If
So,
that means I
yeah.
die in a year, I
Yeah.
die in a year. If that, like whatever assignment you have for me, I'm here for. And that doesn't mean I'm passive and you just dictate to me. It means that the energy you are presenting to me, I will meet
Mhm.
and I will move from.
I've been tearing up a little bit because you resonate so hard for me because I'm right there with you. It's sort of God work through me, work through, show up and work through me. What do you need? I'm available for change, and you have that message also.
And trust in that, right? Like I'll never forget, I was pulling cards one day and I got that card of the grandmother of Jesus.
Anna, yeah.
Anna is so beautiful.
I agree. I love
I
her.
love her energy. So she comes forward and she just apparently wanted to chat with me that day, right? And the message of, I know without a doubt that everything that I am doing in my practice and my devotion in this lifetime is not like the fruits are not going to be received or seen before I pass from this human world.
Yes.
And that did not change her devotion one iota.
Yes.
Think of all of the evidence that we are looking for on our journey. Am
Hmm.
I healthy? Am I getting better? Am I getting the love that I want? Do I have the money I want? Do I have the freedom I want? All of these things. We're looking for evidence and I'm like, this woman was a badass, man. Like talk about devotion.
Yeah.
I don't need anything in return. I don't need recognition. I'm in devotion because I love being in devotion.
Yes. And just holding that space and the frequency so that others can come after. It's like creating that platform for the next to step up and the next to step up and the next to step up. I'm so here for it. It's not glamorous though. It's not the United States of America.
Right? It's like it's setting real devotion to the collective,
Yeah.
right? To the collective rising and not just yourself. And I think we can all get caught in that because we're human
Yes.
beings. And I remember when I had this acknowledgement too on my healing journey, and I had to cut out dairy and gluten and a number of other things to just reduce inflammation and listen to my body's sensitivities and just develop different kind of relationship with it. And I remember I was eating, and still do a lot of kale, a lot of beets, a lot of, fresh veggies, things like that. And I was pissy. I was like tantruming about this, but I was doing it. So I was like doing it all, but I was doing it out of obligation. And I was doing it because I wanted to get to the solution. Like I'm eating kale because it's going to make me better. And that realized me one day, I was like, made me realize one day, I was like, oh, yeah, I desire to eat these things because I actually enjoy them. Like I enjoy eating them because two things. One, I love loving on my body. I love nourishing my body. I love fueling my body in this way. From spirituality as well. Like I love nourishing and fueling and loving on my body. And that's the space and the intention that I want to come from. And also, I love receiving. Like this food has been created for me by Mother Earth, by Gaia, by the divine, by the hands that have grown it, right? Like just a very different intention, same action, very different energy behind it. That softening, not the I'm gonna get from this.
I feel like we almost have to move through the I'm going to get to the softening though, because they've got to tantrum through to have all of the feelings to move through it. It's not something that just happens. It's the journey, right?
Yeah, and I
And
think
that's where all that hot wisdom comes from, is like from taking that journey, from allowing yourself to move through it.
that's so true. It is. It's hot wisdom. I like that. Like label it as hot wisdom instead of criticizing yourself.
Right.
Right?
The
Like,
criticizing along the way, right? I was sitting in circle with some women yesterday, and one of them, we were coming up with like a covenant to like have as our agreement for the group that we're going to have. And she was just like, she had written something about not being in judgment. And I had that little red flag, and I was like, well, I won't show you on my face I'm in judgment. But like, I'm like, honey, that's a lifelong practice to not be in judgment. We're always in judgment of something, and we can sit with it. We can take it inside of us and find out why is that? Why are we responding in those ways? But it was just sort of funny because I was like, yeah, that's sort of like to sit in complete and total non-judgment is, that's your lifetime's work of someone. So I don't know.
absolutely. And again, also an invitation to hot
Yes.
wisdom.
Yes.
I was just actually recording something for my clients this morning, and it was this module on non-negative self-talk.
Mm.
And I was like, I had this topic in my notes app for a month at least, and I just couldn't get myself to record it. And then I realized it's because I was making it too big of a thing, right?
Mm.
Like, why does negative self-talk have to be this like big beast that we're slaying, right? In order to like love ourselves more. Actually, all negative self-talk is a tantrum of the mind. It's
Yeah.
it's like we know when our body's tantruming, we know when our emotions are tantruming, and it's like it's just a sign that there's actually this greater amount of self-love that's busting through, and your mind is stretching its edges to meet it. So if we don't give it meaning and we just say, "Okay, I'm going to meet you here, have your tantrum, say whatever you need," but we don't attach to it, it really lightens the energy.
And
And
it has a tendency to pass through faster too.
absolutely. Less resistance.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Again, though, just sharing with listeners, like this stuff takes time. It doesn't just happen. It's a practice, right? All of these things, meditative practice that just takes time to unfold, and then it just becomes sort of second nature.
Yeah, grace for yourself and
Hmm.
repetition is how the nervous system learns. The
Yeah.
nervous system learns through repetition. So the fact that you're somebody who consistently shows up and listens to podcasts like this or, goes on walks or meditates or even thinks about being intentional is a win.
Hmm.
So let's focus on what we are doing
Hmm.
other than the place to which we have not yet gotten.
Oh, I love that reframing. Yeah. How can we celebrate the win of every day?
Mhm.
So, in your process, as you were noticing that your body was getting better and better, how did it go from there? How did you start taking that Akashic healing that you were receiving for yourself, and how did you like turn it to sharing it with others?
So I'm going to talk about this in two stages. So one is for my own process. It was realizing that I could hold both at the same time. And this is so important for people to hear because we feel like we go from being sick or in a bad negative state or chaotic or whatever it is to being like conscious and healed and enlightened. It doesn't work that way, right? Like,
Right, like a switch, right? Like one
right.
day.
Like Freddie was saying, like it's a process, it's an unfolding.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to share that like my in between, and this still exists for everyone, by the way, because we're human beings and we were meant to be dualistic in nature, but was realizing I can feel like crap and know that this is not how I'm always going to be. I can
Yes.
feel like really defeated and
Mhm.
like nothing's working. And I've tried everything and I keep hitting a wall and it's not moving forward physically. At the same time that I can feel and know the infinite possibilities that exist when I connect to the Akashic realm. So, from a personal place, that was a really big transitional point for me, was realizing I can actually hold both of these. I don't have to put pressure on myself to be like the Akashic queen and be like the best meditator on the planet. And therefore I'm released from illness. Like, no, doesn't work that way. We're not looking for perfection.
Hmm.
It was, I can still be really cranky about this
Hmm.
at the same time that I can be super confident about what's available to me and where I'm going and where I'm being invited. So I think that was a really big turning point with the Akash as well. And then in terms of sharing this with others, I was going into my therapy office. And this was when I was kind of in between in-person therapy and virtual support. And every time I would go into my office in person, something would happen physically. I would either collapse and my husband would have to pick me up, or I would like lose the ability to make sentences or understand what my client was saying to me. And I was like, it's very clear that I am not meant to do this in person. Like, I finally got that message. I was like, okay,
Right.
I am not meant to do this in person. The other thing that I realized at the same time was that the things that were coming out of my mouth around mental health diagnostics, around cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, you name the therapy, and the approaches that exist within the confines of the mental health system, like those were no longer my answer. They didn't resonate anymore. Everything that wanted to come out of my mouth was energetic and spiritual. I was like, I don't see things like this anymore. It's not even that. It's not even a perspective shift. It is a knowing and a sense of advocacy and fire underneath me to say, people, there's a better way.
Mhm.
There's a way that is so outside of the box, that is wildly individualistic, that can only be guided by your soul.
Mm.
Because your soul has a unique signature that doesn't have a clear pathway on this planet.
Yeah.
It doesn't, not every single one of us has a pathway that's been carved that is exactly the same as we are meant to carve it. We're
Right.
going to have little detours. We're going to have little stop offs at an ice cream shop. You know what I mean? Like every single one of us has a different path. And it's like, I can sit there. I remember sitting there with a client I'd seen for a few years, love her. And she was trying to decide between two different careers. And so we were talking about, what signals were kind of coming up for her and what her knowing was and what felt really good. And she was like, this feels really like me. And I was like, you know what? I would have to validate that. Like I agree it feels really like you. And she said, could we open my Akashic records? This was like right before I stopped like seeing people in person. Could we open my Akashic records and just see what they have to say? And I was like,
Mm.
okay, I love that idea because I was so excited for the people who were open to this, right?
Mhm.
So we opened her Akashic records, and the Akash was like, "Yeah, you're both wrong. Like she's supposed to go this way, and she went that way, and she is like kicking ass.
Oh my God, that's so interesting.
It's wild." And so I was like, humbled, called out. I don't care how freaking smart you are. I'm a fantastic therapist. I have helped thousands of people, right? Nothing is smarter than your own divine intelligence,
Yeah,
your own soul. No one on this plane, I don't care how brilliant you are, can see that other than your soul.
agreed. I
So that's
absolutely
why,
agree.
yeah. And that's why for me, I was like, why are we beating around the bush here, people? Let's go straight to the source. And so that's what
Yeah.
I've said. It's like we talk about all this like root cause of healing and get to the root. And, I worked with a lot of functional medicine doctors and received a lot of support and help from them in the physiological root cause. But guess what's below the physiological root
Right.
cause? The emotional root cause. Guess what's under that? The energetic root cause. Guess what's under that? The spiritual, soul-based source point of this within the universe.
Mhm.
And that is where I want to make change from. And that is where I make change from because that's the true source of whatever arrives on this plane.
Yes, yes, I love that. I think there's also something in just the conditioning that we get and what we come in with and what's placed on top of us, just sort of moving that to the side to be able to make the connection to be able to hear. So I do think that like every technique and any way, like the talk therapy, the modern medicine, anything that can come in to sort of just help move that away to be able to make that connection to source for folks. Because like until we decondition away from like societal norms and everything, you're not even going to be able to hear it.
Oh, that's what I always say. And that's why I have a program that I run. It's like my flagship program called Vitality. And it's exactly that. It's we
Mhm.
talk about the physiological, we draw labs, we can do food testing, things like that, so that we can like attend to the physical body, make
Mhm.
recommendations to certain specialists or doctors that could be supportive for them, in addition to what are the patterns, right? The cultural patterns, the religious conditioning, the family conditioning, whatever it happens to be, because I always say there's two main things that get in the way of you being able to receive spirit. One is your nervous system,
Mhm.
right? Your nervous system being laden with whether it's compounded things that have come up over the years that have developed into physical symptoms or emotional disturbance or whatever it is, or your environment, or some of those narratives that you're playing in your head. It's allowing that nervous system to come into a safe and anchored space and to clearing out the things that are really distorting and distracting it from settling and receiving, right?
Mhm.
And then the second part is choice. Like the decide, like I am deciding to have faith. I am deciding that this is possible. I
Mhm.
don't have to believe it yet, but I'm making the choice and I'm continuing to make the choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
both of those together, I think, are real key.
Mhm. Yeah. Is faith something that you feel like you came in with? Do you feel like that's like or is that something that you came to growing up in the Presbyterian church?
For me, I feel like it was something that I naturally was drawn to
Hmm.
because I remember having conversations with God all the time. I had conversations with God in my bedroom. I would yell at God all the time. I was mad at God a lot. Poor God.
They can
I,
take it.
oh my gosh, I was screaming at him. I was like, this is your fault. How could you do this to me? Like, whoo, God bless him for being my friend. So I did a lot of that. Lots of conversations with God. Also, we went camping a ton.
Mm.
And so laying under the stars and just that was where I felt the closest to God outside of church, anything else. Like just laying under the stars and just feeling the palpable presence of connection to God,
Mm.
even without any kind of narrative. So I think for me, it was just an inevitable, inherent awakening.
Hmm.
What about you?
Um, we've ebbed and flowed, but I've always had a connection with Jesus, with that Yeshua energy, like my whole life. Like he's been my bestie, or
Yeah.
like maybe like a guide is the way that I would put it now. And so I had a really hard childhood. I had like a lot of childhood trauma and stuff, and he was always there, like that energy. So that, and then as I've come into my own spirituality and so forth, that connection to God is I sort of feel it as if we are each, we're soul having a human experience, but that soul is connected to God because God wants to feel everything, right? So we're like a fragment of this giant God energy or this creator energy. Like they want to experience everything to experience it through us. Like that's kind of the way that I feel it. So we are all one and we are all interconnected in this sort of like, I am you, you are me, we are one, but we're having this separated experience right now here on Earth. That's kind of the way that I feel it. And it just sort of ebbs and flows and goes in and out. So there's the kindness and compassion just all sort of is interwoven because we're all here having this messy experiences at different times, like all together. So yeah, the ebb and flow with God, but that Jesus energy has always sort of been around from birth, I'd say.
I love that.
Yeah. Or the
I love
the
that.
angel energy. That's an energy that's around.
I love that too. And that's one of the things I recommend to people who are first playing in the Akashic Records. And we have a link here that you guys can follow to YouTube to watch just what they are and how to open them. And and start receiving information. But one of the things that I recommend is that when people enter the Akash, if it's very, very new, connect to like a loved one who has passed. Like just set the
Mhm.
intention, a loved one who has passed, or a guide like Jesus or Buddha that you have felt connected to, or an angel, because that's one you understand. And
Mhm.
it's one that you felt before. And so it offers a really nice way to just kind of have this gateway into Akashic energy where it feels a little bit more anchored
Mhm.
and understandable,
Mhm.
and then it'll grow from there. And trust that guide, because that guide will guide you through the records as well.
Yeah. And one of my favorite episodes of your podcast that you have, and I can put it in the show notes, is um, a trauma bond with God, sort of like people deconstructing how they might have a trauma bond with God. And I think, I mean, my husband certainly does, but I think that that's pretty common. So,
Yeah.
like, even being able to come into this and have a willingness to even look at it, sometimes that has to be addressed first.
Okay, so tell me about it, because I have a great story on that one. Whereas, and I may have even shared this in that episode, I can't remember, but I was in the Akashic Records one time and I was feeling frustrated. Can you tell how much feisty energy I bring to the spirit world? God bless him. And so I'm sitting there with the Akash, and I had felt kind of like stagnant, like plateaued. Like it just, and I was like, I just don't feel like things are move. Like I want things to move. I was probably just being an impatient human at the time, or that's what I was feeling as I was being an impatient human. But I'm sitting there, and the message that I got was that I was hiding in the Akashic records. I was using the Akash, I was using the universe to hide because I was afraid to meet Source directly. And I was like, oh, that kind of resonates. And I got like all squirmy. And that's when I just beelined right up there and had the Akash just take me up and just sit right in front of Source itself and Creator itself, face to face. And whoo, talk about like the chills. And my immediate response was to want to just bow and feel like I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, right? And I remember God saying directly to me, rise, like stand up and meet me, right? And that was scary. And I think part of that is conditioning, and part of it is just seeing ourselves in our own power, seeing ourselves in our own divinity, and feeling like that's weird, or that's, entitled, or we fear that we're going to be seen as too cocky or too full of ourselves, right? And that was an adjustment. That's a whole spiritual expansion in itself. Because you want to talk about the Akashic Records, theta healing, emotion code, all of it. Every single thing on this plane has been created by spirit. Everything.
It's
And
just
in
brought
other
through.
planes. Correct. So
Mhm.
it's like you want to really get to the source, shoot
Mhm.
straight up to source.
I don't think people think they have that they're allowed to because again of that programming, but we each do have access.
Absolutely. And it's so eagerly welcomed. So
Yeah, like they're
eagerly.
waiting. Come on,
100%.
let's go.
That's one of the things I say to people all the time. I'm like, do you have any idea how much is waiting at the gate for you?
It's an
Like there,
excitement. It's a
oh,
homecoming
no, there's
because
like ancestors and like ascended masters and angels, and they're like, oh, is she gonna open the door? Is she gonna open the door? I want to play, because they do. They want to play like it's light.
yep. Yeah, we
Spirituality
have.
gets to feel playful. We take it too freaking seriously.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely I am definitely in the camp of when I am taking it too seriously, and I often do. I get sort of tripped up so that I can giggle at myself and start over, reset. Like in the play is where the true creation comes from, like that super wonderful creative energy. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Hmm. This is such a joy. I really hope that folks are hearing how incredibly awesome you are and feeling this really awesome East Coast brilliant energy. And have they can go over and check out the Akashic Musings podcast. There's a little under 100 episodes on there, and I absolutely love it. I think you started it in 2022, and it's so resonant. I don't know, you resonate with me. You are a frequency that I'm like, yes, I want to stand up next to that. Like,
Thank
and you
you.
actually, you embody something I love about you is that you really embody this mastery of the 3D that I'm
Mm.
like, ooh, I like that. And that's something that I'm very drawn to because it's something that I'm learning. I'm still trying working on believing it in some ways in my 3D reality. And you've mastered that and I can sense it and I'm like, okay, and I get to look to you to feel that.
Thank you, because that's extremely important to me. It's extremely important to me to bring that in and to really ground all of this because it feels incredible to snuggle with spirit. Like it feels incredible to hang out in these higher dimensions and to feel this divine love. And we are meant to live this way. We are meant to live from this space and create our realities from this space and meet ourselves in the dualistic nature that our souls chose to bring forward for this human experience. And it's all divine. It's all divine. And I think grounding this and bringing divinity into a space that feels really tangible and so that we can receive from our day-to-day lives is vital and the purpose of being here on this planet.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I agree. Oh, yeah. If folks wanted to work with you, how would they do that?
So you can definitely go to my website and see what I currently have offered, particularly through my events, because I always have one or two events going on at least. At the time of this, we are going to be entering into Reveal, which is a 3-month program that came through, honestly, just my own journaling when I was sitting with the Akash. And they kind of landed this on me, and it's brilliant because it's about holding people in the winter months, right?
Ooh.
During a time when we are going within and can sometimes get to this point where we feel sticky, stagnant, um, definitely a little set off by our loved ones because we're in closer quarters sometimes. We have the holidays. And what was coming up was this feels like a portal into conscious relationship. And so
Ooh.
it's not just okay, I want to be in conscious relationship. It is I am taking a stand for conscious relationships, not just for myself, but for other people. And so I'm going to step into an embodiment, a vibration of conscious connection, exchange, partnership, so that I can invite people into that in a loving way, not in I'm setting bold boundaries because this is what I'm available for, because that's a little heel digging. And that's not what invites people forward, right? In a way that's sustainable. And so it's saying, come to this space, which is really just, it's going to be a weekly coaching calls. That's it. That's all it's going to be. And like a group chat.
Mhm.
And we come together and say, this is where I'm being invited in my relationships, which means so and so pissed me off. This person made me feel inadequate. This is where I don't know what to do or go and do, move into next. And so we're bringing very real time what's being reflected in your relationships, and we're using that as fuel. And we're saying, this is here for you. You created this so that you are learning how to teach, embody, and invite people into a conscious exchange around something like this so that we feel more collaborative and so that we feel like we are in even more solid foundation than we already are because we're here on this planet to exchange with other people. We're here to activate each other into our
Yeah.
own rising. So it's like, it's called reveal because it's revealing more of yourself. It's inviting more of you forward to take this role in the context of relationships.
Cool. That sounds great.
It's going to be fun.
It sounds
I'm
spicy. It
excited.
sounds spicy.
It is. I mean, listen, if you work with me, it's always going to be spicy. But if you want to start like a little lower there I don't want to jump into this intensity right now. I have lots of stuff on my website where we can connect for a quick session. You can also grab like a little course. I have little mini courses you can play with. So lots of ways to play.
Yes, yes. And these things will be linked in the show notes. There's something too with the 20 plus years of the working as a therapist also that you bring to the table that I feel like that kind of spiciness could be, it's supported. It's
Yes,
supported.
absolutely. That's why a lot of people come into my field because they're like, I feel safe knowing that
Hmm.
you can handle anything I throw at you at the same time that like you're gonna help me expand like wildfire, you know?
Yes, I think they're an excellent mix together.
I like them. I think it's a
Yeah.
good combo.
Yeah, they're an excellent mix. Also, the therapy is a good mix. It's interesting that you were thinking about going into the seminary because I think of those two very similar too. It's a very similar thing. It's just you're holding the community on a wider range, but you're still meeting with people individually, or you're meeting individually or
Correct.
in group, and so they're all in the same kind of vein.
Oh, they are. My stepdad was like, I'm really glad you took this route because now you can guide people spiritually and curse. He was like, if you were like, behind the podium there in the front of the church, I'm not sure if your F-bombs would fly, sister.
Maybe not with the Presbyterians.
Probably not. It all happens for a reason.
I know. I hang out with the Unitarian Universalists, and I think they'd take a few F-bombs. I think they'd be okay with it.
Keeping it real over here,
Yeah,
folks.
right. Oh, Laura, this has been such an incredible pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. And listeners, please check her out. Laura, I wanted to tell you that I love you. God, Universe Source loves you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.